Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be looking at an overview of the many features that make ZoomProspector and, in fact, GIS planning tools unique. We're also going to just offer additional perspective on GIS data tools in general and how they can fit into your overall goals of lead generation and of place marketing. My name is Elisa Sklar. I'm the VP of Marketing here at GIS Planning. I'm delighted to be here with my colleague, Stevie Field-Chavez. Hello, Stevie.
Hello, Elisa. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
So part of our goal here in talking to you about the many features that make the GIS planning tools unique is to give you a refresher if you're familiar with them, because we're constantly innovating and adding new features, but also to talk about the ways that you can use the tools strategically to accomplish your goals and objectives as a team. And so as a kind of starter here, one of the things that we wanted to reinforce is the fact that these data tools are working for your region 24/7. Because we have seen over the years of research that we've done that site selectors are researching your website before making contact. Last year, we ran a global survey of site selection professionals, and we asked them, where do they go for information when they are trying to do research and analysis for a client to help find an optimal location? And the overall answer was investment promotion websites, or same as EDO websites. I know in Europe and around the world they call them investment promotion agencies. So that is remained the first most important point of contact. Next, they looked at third-party data sources, publications and media, peers and colleagues. In fact, information sent by EDOs was considerably lower number than the others were. So we know that this is absolutely critical. They're coming to your website to do research and analysis. Another question that we ask them is, when do you first make that contact with economic development organizations? And this is really kind of fascinating if you look at the numbers, because it quickly becomes clear that they are doing this research before you actually know that you're being considered. In fact, at least 78% of the time, economic developers don't find out well into the process, if at all, that they're actually under consideration for an investment project. So the beginning of the search, only 16% of the time, only 6% of the time when they're developing the long list, 5% of the time never. And as you move your way through the timeline, you can see that in fact, you are very likely to have no idea that you are being considered. Now, this is what's so important. If you're waiting for them to email you or call you and let you know they're under consideration to provide robust, interactive, up-to-date data, then you really are a little bit late to the party. If you're not putting this on your website, in fact, you're losing leads without even knowing that you are in the running. And this is a really sobering thought, because we know how competitive the global marketplace is for investment and how absolutely critical it is that you get ahead of these potential leads so that you can work with them. Now, Stevie, I'm going to pass this over to you so you can lead us into the next slides. And you can actually just stop from the top of the deck that you've got as well, if you want to take us to the next question.
Okay, well, that's, so this is one of those, I thought we were passing the whole thing back and forth, and so I do not have the deck up and ready.
Okay, no problem. Let me pull it back so I can walk us through that. That's no problem. Let me just pull that back up again, in fact. Okay.
This is one of those, you're doing it live when. I apologize.
No worries. Okay, so this is our next question. We provide lots of GIS data tools, data layers rather, and that we can add your custom data layers. And this is something that people are not necessarily aware of. I'm going to pass this back over to you, Stevie, so you can show us what that looks like.
Very good. And we can probably, okay, I hate to ask the question, Elisa, can you see my screen?
I can, yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you, attendees, for just being patient while we just worked through that. Just a communication error on our part, but we are back in business. So map layers. Map layers are super important because it helps to, once again, communicate very important pieces of data that are needed in the site selection process, and I can visually see this information. So what if a couple of the examples, because you're going to see I have a million tabs open here on my screen. We're going to go through and look at a lot of different examples of really great ways that some of our clients have done this. This is Waco, Texas. And just for an example, look at how close I can get. I'm looking at the water and sewer lines and how they go up to each individual parcel. I can actually see what size water and sewer line goes up to each individual parcel. That's a tremendous amount of information to gather when you're doing your site selection research. Now, my puppy's gonna bark in about a minute because the mailman probably decided to wait until I started talking before coming to the door. So I really apologize for that. Thankfully, he's on his way back out. Okay, and we're back. So we can get map layers in a couple of different ways, in the form of a shape file, in a KML file, and we can also connect directly to your ArcGIS server right with your city or your county. So all of these can actually be transferred over immediately and seamlessly. You can see Waco has some interesting layers of traffic counts, activities which include parks, business parks, CDBG, area lines. I always think this says extraterrestrial, but it never does, and so I always have to look at that twice. So they've got a lot of really interesting map layers. We also have Miami-Dade. They did a really good job with their map layers, showing various data centers, even submarine landings, which is really kind of interesting, something most of us don't have in our area. And the data layers can also be interactive, so they can provide information, whether it's another point of contact for additional information, whether it is someone on your team to contact for more information. So we can always make these data layers interactive. So I think it's just a really, really useful way to add additional pieces of information. We provide you with probably 20 different map layers, maybe even more, to include environmental, some environmental and broadband and education and such. But as creative as you can get with those map layers, I just think that just makes you that much more competitive on a project. Alisa?
Yes, excellent. Okay, so let's take a look at our next question, which is that we can set up, did you know that we can set up automatic property data feeds? And I can send this over to you, Stevie, so you can walk us through what that looks like.
Yes, and you know what we can do, just because we're winging it, so send it over to me. You can just read me the slide, I think, from here on and until we get to one of the ones that you're going to take over, and then we can go from there. So this is Michigan, and we're going to be on the Michigan Economic Development site a couple of times. It is truly one of my favorites, and if they look at their analytics, they're going to see that I am on their site a lot. So one of the things that that we have with Michigan is a data feed of different properties. So let's kind of stop for just a second and think about what is that. So we understand that there are multiple ways to get properties in the system. We can have them added by you directly. Probably the least favorite. I'm a former client. I can tell you I didn't have the time for that. So while I might be able to do a property or two, I didn't want to manage an application like that. Number two is that we can get properties in the system by brokers adding properties, or even the broker firm creating a second tier admin level for an administrative assistant or marketing assistant at that broker firm adding properties for multiple agents. We can also provide you with a template of a spreadsheet. We can transfer the properties in. We can connect directly to a broker firm if they will allow it. And more importantly, your local MLS or multiple listing service or real estate association. As long as they allow us to connect, we can make that connection at no additional charge to you, and we can feed these properties directly in, which is in this case kind of what Michigan has done. And you know, some some of your local MLS or real estate associations might say, gosh, I'd love to do that, but I need to charge you for that. This is maybe a great way to kind of navigate around that, is to include their logo or some contact information that goes directly to their site. And it just means that whatever is in that organization's database will feed directly into your database. This also is important for like our state clients. For example, again, Michigan, all of the communities within the state of Michigan can have these feeds that go into their system, and if they meet the state criteria, it will populate the state application. Maybe the state doesn't want small retail, so we'll filter out small retail. So each client gets exactly the types of property that their requirements state, and you aren't bottled down with maybe some of the noise of the other properties that you're not looking for. It's a very quick, fast, and convenient way to get properties in the system. And so again, this is just one example of how properties are fed into the system. You also have a third-party option like a Resimplify or Catalyst. Those are a couple of the companies out there. We're always happy to provide you information on that, and just things to note as you're interviewing these third-party companies. And so if you have any questions on third-party property services or data feeds, please don't hesitate to call us. Elisa, can you read the next slide?
Yeah, sure. So did you know that you can map industry clusters and set up your own custom clusters?
So this is an interesting one, and forgive me for kind of poking around a little bit because I've got all my tabs here, and just so we're not wasting time with me hunting and pecking through different sites. So Hernando County, Florida did a really great job. What we're asking from the client to map clusters is the various industries that make up these clusters for you, and or NAICS codes. So with Hernando, what they did is they provided us the industries that made up the clusters of aviation and aerospace, distribution, and manufacturing. So we have now turned those layers or those data points on, so they map on a map and they're all interactive. So I can see the different companies that actually make up these industries for this community. Conway, South Carolina, what they've done, and we will touch on what intelligence components are, I know, in one of the other slides. So one of the things that we do for our clients is we take the same pieces of data, demographics, labor force, consumer expenditures, the business data, the mapping tool, and we put them, we created something called intelligence components. And again, we'll touch on this here in a little while. So what we've done for Conway, South Carolina is they provided us with the companies or the industries NAICS codes that make up professional services for them. And we've turned those on with our business data on top of the mapping intelligence component. This lives completely outside of their GIS application. And so it just allows me, the website visitor, to be able to visually and interactively see where the professional services companies are in and around their area and who makes up those companies for this client. So it's another way to look at data and get that data absorbed and kind of get a more visual idea. And also when you're looking at it, I can see areas that could be underserved. So if I'm a professionals company, professional vendor or company, and I'm looking at establishing a location in Conway, South Carolina, I could see that this area here in the northwestern portion or northeastern portion, I'm sorry, of the state or of the community might be a little underserved. Maybe it's a little bit more out of town. So maybe that's where I want to maybe take a peek and see what's available in terms of sites and buildings. So for you, our clients, you just need to provide us the NAICS codes or the industries that make up those clusters, and we can provide you with a cluster search, a predefined cluster search. And if you're interested in having the intelligence component showcase any type of key industries you want, there's no limit to the ones that you have here. You just need to provide us with those industries and NAICS codes that make up that for you, so we can now visually overlay it on the map, and you can embed this anywhere in your website that you like outside of the GIS application.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to shift now to the next subject, which is virtual tours. We know they're a really big deal right now, and we
Yes.
integrate them into our GIS Sites and Buildings online tool.
Yes. What the example that I have here is for Duke Energy. They did a really good job. This is a property here in Hickory, North Carolina. You can see we have the virtual tour. We have there's a 3D tour, map view, street view that is all standard with every site or building within the application. It's the custom tour that you as a client are able to add. So you can add, it can be drone imagery, it can be a video, and so I can click this or I can go directly into my video and it's going to take me directly into the custom video that they've added.
Nice.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job with that. And so you can add that to any property or any building that you have in your application. We can teach you how to do that. It's available here. You can see custom tour. I do believe the South Carolina Power Team has them as well. And you can see they even included a little logo on top of the property card on the home screen of the application. So I can see we have custom tour available on each one of these properties throughout their applications. So they did a really good job on showcasing that. So that's just a little bit more about custom tour. It's just a deeper dive into that site or building. Usually it's a site and a little bit about the community maybe. So I encourage you to get creative and include those custom tours where possible.
And then, of course, we have the 360-degree virtual tour that's built into every single property, because not everyone has the luxury of a custom tour that's been designed for them.
Correct, correct. And so that is available on each of the property cards. I think we've got it here on Hickory. You can see our 360 virtual tour, which really just kind of, so you've got a little bit of that. It's just that custom where you really might want to show something more specific on that particular site.
Do you want to show us one of those virtual tours? I think they look so nice.
Sure, it always takes a second here on my computer, so it's all kind of Google Earth driven. So I always hesitate to click that just because it takes a good second. But I've got a much faster computer now than I had before. There we go.
What I really have liked about this is that people, I've seen clients, for example, recording these as GIFs, and I realize because you're running GoToWebinar, it's a little bit more staccato than it usually would, but it shows the surrounding infrastructure. When you're doing it in an urban area, it shows the labels for the different buildings around there, so you get a sense of what's actually going on. And it's just a nice way to make sure that every property gets a little bit of love, and so that we can actually go in and see those. And I think that works quite well. I've seen a lot of clients use them along with property promotion in LinkedIn, for example.
Yes.
All right, so our next did you know is that we are the only GIS company to offer easy 3D rendering directly in your data tool.
Oh yes, this is a fun one. So I'm just going to select this piece of property here in South Carolina. You can see we've got the outline here of the property type. And so I want to draw a 3D rendering on this property so I can give a prospect an idea of what a building might look like on this piece of land. So I don't know if you can see my little blue line here as I'm drawing it on the map. So I'm just going to make a kind of a square building. I can draw any size building I want. I did a real kind of a funky job. You can see our pop-up here is going to provide us instructions on how to use our mouse. So I'm going to close that out. Let's increase the height a little bit, and let's provide we'll do a office building. Maybe we'll add a little depth here and some couple of different floors. And I can see, I'm going to scoot this over a little bit so we can see. There we go. So I can get an idea of what this building will look like. whoops, excuse me, operator error. Control, there we go. There we go, I can get a better idea. I can do this on as many properties as I want. And there we go, I have to click control and scroll. So once I've decided, hey, I really like the way this building looks, I can apply this to my property card. I'm going to save it. It's going to show up as 3D designs on my property card. Now, very interesting point on this is that I'm the only one that can come to this property card and see my 3D design. So I can have 15 designs of different buildings on my property cards, and as long as I don't clear my cache, that building will still be there. Now I can share it with someone if I've got a really great idea of this building and I'm thinking, wow, this is the one. I can actually take my design, copy this link here in our share button. I always suggest that you rename the link, embed that in an email, electronic newsletter, any format that I want to share that, and whoever receives that and clicks that is going to go directly into this page, live into the GIS application, looking at my building. Now, for our clients that are on the line, you have access to the admin system. You actually get to see every building drawn for every piece of property in your application. Should you decide that you really love a building idea, you can permanently attach it to a property card. However, if you think, oh, you know what, it's that they're good, but they're not that good, you can pretty much piece together your analytics to figure out who's drawing buildings on your sites. We'll get into analytics here in just a little while, but it's a very creative, useful tool. I love the idea of, again, we're communicating ideas and visions of what a site or building could look like occupied. And so this is just a really great way to do that. Elisa, do you have any thoughts on that 3D design?
I think it looks great. I love it. And I love the way that it's very easy to change the design of it, to change the opacity. You can change the color, in fact, if you want to use these to match your branding colors, for example. Very easy to actually do that. We've seen hundreds of these designed by clients and by their website users just in the few short weeks since we launched this tool. And I think they are just a fantastic way to help prospective investors picture their investment, to see how that might fit in with the surroundings. I love the fact that you can save it. And I love the fact that you, as an admin of this GIS planning tool, could go into the back end and see all of the 3D renderings that have been created. So you get a chance to see how your website users are thinking of using the territory in that area, if that's something you want to do. In fact, you could even choose to publish them. So I think that looks great. Shall we move on to our next?
Sure.
No. Did you know that you can compare hundreds of data variables for your location with other locations across the country? In fact, a whole bunch of other ones across the country, if that's something you want to do.
So this one is a fun one. It just came up in a demo yesterday. I'm working with a client. It is not Fulton County, or I'm working with a prospect, I should say, and they keep losing projects to other communities, and he did share those names, and across the nation. And so we were able to actually select their location. Again, it is not Fulton County, but we were able to select their location and actually pull up the other two main locations where they lose project, who they're losing projects to. So we were able to really see, I've got a county, so I'm gonna just put it in county. We're really able to see apples to apples how their community stacks up to others. It is county for county or city for city. As long as you start with a city or county in the client geography, you can select any city or county across the nation to compare them. And you can have as many as you like. So I am going to put in Richland County, South Carolina, because that is where I'm from. You can see they really, we've got all kinds of different communities, but I've got them mapped here so I can see where they are from one another. And then let's look at our comparison reports. and I can see how they stack up in our demographics. And I have multiple points within the demographics. So if I'm really looking at households or household income, I can see how these all stack up next to each other. Labor force, consumer expenditures. You know, the funny thing about consumer expenditures is, you know, there may be a big difference between the geography of these communities, but how people spend their money within the communities is sometimes not such a large gap. So you might have a community that doesn't have as much population, but they're outspending communities that have a bigger population than they are. So that's really great when you're recruiting retail. You'll hear us talk about this several times, and I know we have a slide on this, but you can always share this information. It just allows me to share this with a competitor when I'm really trying, or when a site selector, I'm really trying to get them educated on my community and how I stack up. We also have our census data, and so some of this information is brought off to this from the American Community Survey Group. So there's multiple different categories here. Again, as long as you start with a location within the client community, a city or a county, you can compare any other city or county across the nation to that original selection, and all of these data points are available. Elisa, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I think that's fantastic. I've seen clients actually pre-build, like build these reports, because often you'll know what other communities your client you've been compared against. Four Corners Economic Development is a very good example of that, actually, because they then built this report with the 5 communities that they are most often compared with, and just added it as a link to their site, which I thought was actually very, very clever. So you can say click for a pre-built report, and it'll take you right there to see how everything stacks up.
So just
a proactive
smart
way. Yeah, I love that. And then also the nice thing about it is if you build the report and you click on that share button, which I always refer to as our superpower share button, you can grab that hyperlink and use that to direct people to content anywhere within the ZoomProspector tool. So if it's important content or helps you, establish your value proposition to explain why your region or your community is so attractive to investors, you can start directing them in that way. So that's what they did. They grabbed the share link for the report that they created, and they used it in that way.
And what interesting categories we have here. I mean, some of them I don't even think I've ever paid attention to, but mortgage status, vehicles available, class of worker. I mean, that's just a tremendous amount of different veteran status. That's a tremendous amount of information that's provided. And y'all, I know we've all been in economic development a long time. I used to run an organization in California, and it's not a secret who we are usually competing against. We usually know the communities that we're losing projects against. And so by not showing the information, we're not necessarily hiding the information from a site selector or a prospect, but getting it out there and really comparing that apples to apples comparison. Let's make the case as to why I'm the better choice, even though my numbers might not be all the way there. Let's talk about why I'm the better choice and sell it that way. Again, I go back into information is not a secret. It's just a matter of finding the information. So I'm a believer of getting the information out there and then making the sale as to why, making the case as to why you are the better option.
Exactly. So I think that's just really a useful way to imagine that and to be able to forefront that. Again, as you're saying, I've had clients sometimes say, well, I don't want to put our demographic information out there because maybe we have, this part of our region is very poor, for example. And you think, well, you're not going to be able to hide that from investors. And for many investors, that's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to bring in new jobs, to help power economic growth across the region. So what you might see as something that you don't want to forefront is in fact actually really important intelligence for any business that might want to move in that area, because that might fit into what their overall goal is to add that value.
Absolutely.
Now, our next question here is about marketing support. And so the answer here, I'm going to grab the information over here. Did you know
Sure.
that we offer individual marketing consultation and support? That's really important. I work individually with all of our clients to help them take full advantage of the GIS planning tools for the marketing and promotion of their region. And that includes all kinds of information on social media, email newsletters, link placement strategies, blind testing of their website, news releases, preparing collateral for trade shows. There's so many great ways that you can be taking advantage of these tools. And part of what we've done is create this very detailed help center. So here's an example of an article that we've got, sample social media messages that let you take advantage of the data in your ZoomProspector and intelligence components, inexhaustible source of data. You will never run out of posts for LinkedIn or Twitter or your email newsletter if you want to grab content. And because that share button allows you to link people directly back to the tool, it's about directing traffic that way, not just taking out the content, but then using the content to engage people and drive them back to your website, because that always needs to be one of our goals. So that is really important. We are very dedicated about that consultation, about the support. It's a big part of what we do. Another did you know is that we offer materials and training for brokers. So here's an example of a piece of collateral that we can offer. How do you engage brokers in your area? This is an example of a PDF you can use as a white label. It has our branding on it, or you can put your branding on it. And this is something you can share as a PDF. It's something that you can put in emails to help them, the realtors in your area, understand how they are going to benefit from these kinds of tools. Very key. The other thing we do, of course, is webinars. And these webinars could be training webinars for the realtors and brokers in your area, but we'll also do training webinars for all of your community stakeholders, the economic developers, the SBDCs, the business accelerators and entrepreneur startups, the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Improvement District, your elected officials, anyone who's got a stake in ensuring that your region is able to excel. We are here to help you connect with them. These webinars are part of what we do. We set them up, we'll do the presentation, we invite you to join us to answer questions specific to your location, and then we'll record them and provide that video to you to use as a resource going forward. So these are really useful ways to help. Now, the other thing that we can do is that we can help you increase quality traffic to your GIS planning data tools on your website or in a microsite. And so that involves me working with you to do a full analysis of your traffic patterns, of your link placement strategies, of your referral strategies, and I'll help you identify those opportunities where you can be driving more traffic your way to ensure that you're getting people engaged, letting them know what you're offering them, and making sure that they're spending time. And you can capture that in your analytics so we know more about what's going on. Now, Stevie, I'm going
Lisa, that is so valuable. We have clients, for our attendees today, we have clients who are small community clients, and they get more traffic on their sites than some of our really large power clients. And a lot of that has to do with implementing some of what Elise is talking about in your community, whether it's having all of your community stakeholders linked to your website so you are the resource of information. That share button, that magic button that we're talking about, it's really easy to get them. Having Elisa go through your site and seeing how things, areas that you might be able to beef up some of the use of our tools, because these are the things that people are going for, and really using those analytics and how to decipher those and use that as kind of a lead management tool. All of that is invaluable information, and it's all just part of your subscription when you're part of our family. So I advise you to take advantage of that. Pick her brain and just kind of, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? This is my electronic newsletter. How can I use this so it drives traffic back to our site? That electronic newsletter, y'all, if it doesn't already, you need to make sure that it does. pictures of properties don't work anymore, have it be interactive so it goes right back to your website looking at all of the information that's about that property. So yeah, I encourage you to take advantage of Elisa's, not only the marketing, strategic marketing information that she can give you, but the broker training. We really love to do that. Brokers love the idea of helping them. Let's talk about what you're doing to promote the tool, you as the client. We can talk about how easy it is to get your properties in there, and the information that they can glean is doing that. So take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And I'm just like quickly flipping through the many articles here. We have a very detailed marketing implementation plan. We work with you. In other words, we don't just set this up and turn this on and flick the switch and leave you to figure it out. We have templates for news releases, for email blasts, for social media posts. We have been doing this for 24 years, so we've learned what helps you make an impact, and we're determined to help you get it right. Now, Stevie, the next question that we have is about ZoomProspector's drag and drop proposal generator. So not everybody is aware that your ZoomProspector includes this proposal generator. Maybe you can show us a little bit how that works.
Okay, this is a big one. So one of the things, I'm going to do this as a kind of a two-part. First of all is the ability to save properties. I have several properties here, and I've got a couple of folders. I'm trying to please both people here in South Carolina, from our Clemson to our USC. So I've got two folders here of various properties. Right now we are looking at Project Orange. I can export all of these properties in one click to a proposal. Now, if you are a client of ours and you have not yet built a proposal, or you don't know how to build the proposal, make an appointment with your client services team so we can teach you how to do this. It's a big game changer, especially important, hopefully, as we've gone to the other side of the pandemic, but it's taught us a different way of doing business. It no longer has to be that 3-ring binder you have to be in the office to receive. So the properties that I've exported would build directly into my proposal. It's fully interactive. You can see I've got my virtual tour. If I had a custom tour, that would be here. I've got access to my different reports, property details, various downloaded documents that I can export. And if I click view photos and full report, it takes me directly into the GIS application live, which again drives traffic back to your site. Every proposal you can create, it can be completely different than the last. It is unlimited how many proposals that you can create. They can have different colors, different tabs. You can have different contact people, different industry focus, whatever you want. Your imagination is the only limit here. You can have them each for different industries. You can reuse tabs for different proposals. So the letter from the governor, for example, does not need to be recreated. It can be assigned to every proposal that you make. I can have this hot pink if I want, with my contact information and a photo, and then various pieces of information to help really drive home why my location is the best to do business. Once your location is created, copy the link, and again, you'll hear me say this over and over, always rename that link, embed that in your email when you're sending it to your prospect, and they're going to get this clean, professional proposal that works on my laptop, it works on my tablet, it works on my cell phone, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to touch paper, I don't have to be in the office to get it. I can look at all of the different documents, and I can export it as a PDF, or even export it as a KML file, which is really important in site selection. The really handy dandy tool trick of this is if I find a misspelled word and I decide to change it on my end, it automatically changes on their end. I do not need to send a new link. So this system actually has two functionalities. The proposal system is part of that. The first part, which I cannot show you just because it's part of the admin system, is how we create what we call an active need, or an RFP. where you as state leaders can actually send to the communities of choice, multi-regional community of choice. If you're one community, you can send it to your brokers of choice, and you can say, this is the project I'm working on. I have an R&D facility that needs 5,000 to 7,000 square feet of space. They need a little R&D space and some office space, and all of the different pieces, high data, and you send it to the appropriate brokers and communities that you want to have respond with properties. The properties that they submit, you can actually approve or reject. If you reject them, you can say why you've rejected them. Maybe they didn't meet criteria. Maybe they were received after the due date that you gave them, which is an amazing thing to pull back from later on in the year when you've got that community or that broker that says, hey, you never include me on an RFP. Now you have that backup to say, as a matter of fact, I did. Any approved properties automatically start building in your proposal. So it's a very easy process and system to use, and you can see how many times a property has been submitted, why properties have been rejected. All of that information is available at your fingertips. And again, you've got this really clean, professional proposal that you can send to your prospect. And once they've engaged and they've gone into your GIS application, go back to analytics. Your analytics are jumping in and tracking those visits. So very, very important tool.
Absolutely. The proposal generator, it's like having an extra staff person in the team. So someone, you've got this already done, it's beautiful, it's easy to share, you can update on the fly if new properties become available. People can collaborate. It's like the Google Docs of, proposal for EDO and responses to RFPs. It puts all this at your fingertips, and they're polished, professional, and always meet best practices. So that's something you can count on. All right, our next question, Stevie, is about, let's see, we can offer a variety of practical suggestions to help cover the cost of your data tools.
Oh, yes. So I get this sometimes with different communities who really want the suite of services, and everything that we've shown you is all included in the one package that we offer to our clients. And so, but how do I pay for that? I'm very limited budget. I just don't have the money. Waco is a great example of how they have offset that cost. Here we have a pop-up. They provided us with the logos, which, as you can see by the little hand on my screen here, is going to go directly into that particular sponsor's website. We have it on the top of the title bar here. We can add something down below. Let me scroll down to the bottom of here, down here in the space that we have below. There's multiple ways to showcase your different sponsors if you've had different people contribute. For economic development organizations, it's a really useful tool because you offer one maybe in each of the industries that you have, and you can change it every 6 months, every year. I can imagine that with all the marketing that you're doing, getting your application and your website in the forefront of people's mind when making these decisions, a broker or a bank, construction, engineering firm, all of these would be brilliant people to contact and say, hey, do you want that logo? You're not going to be competing with anybody else. It could be first come, first serve. Again, however long they decide to want to sponsor, how much, it's completely up to you. That's all done on your side, but that's one good way. Another way that I always encourage is contact if you have railroads next to you or by you, railroads and your local utilities. Again, adding a logo of, this site brought to you by or help paid for by, such and such water agency or gas company. A lot of times there's money in different utilities to help offset costs for things like this. And to have some of their information kind of in the forefront when making decisions is of value. And so that's just another good way. But those are a couple of examples of just really creative ways that some clients have done those partnerships.
Excellent. Yeah, really creative. I love the way people do that and involve also the community stakeholders so they feel like they have some ownership and buy-in in these tools. All of those folks are ambassadors for your region. So
Yes.
helping them, drawing them in and making sure they understand how the tool is working for them, that just benefits everybody. So our next, did you know, is that your GIS planning tools come with 3 levels of analytics, and we can show you how to track what companies are visiting your web tools.
Elisa, do you have a slide for that?
That is an excellent question. Let me pull one up here as we're speaking.
Okay, this is another one of those. So, but we can talk about it while you're pulling up a slide. So
We
we provide you with 3 sets of analytics. Google Analytics, I'm sure you're quite familiar with those. I think that Google goes into the search engine where people found you, the country or the community, and some of this information, while foundational and maybe not super deep, is important because if you are getting a lot of traffic from a particular state or region of the country, that's not, it shouldn't be passed over to think that you couldn't do some marketing efforts in those communities or in that particular state. I mean, if you're getting a lot of traffic. So I think Google Analytics are really important. ZoomProspector Analytics will go more into the type of property that people are searching for, the size range of property people are searching for, even the top communities for our multi-regional and our state attendees, the top communities that people are looking at within your site selection application. And then finally, there's Lead Gen ID, and Lead Gen ID will actually let you know what company, the name of the company that's on your website, the type of property they're searching for, the size range of property they're searching for, which properties they looked at for every visit, and which intelligence component they looked at. So in all of the GIS planning provided tools, they're tracking those visits with that the site selector or that company was making. You put all of this together and you really have a very clear picture of what your website is doing and doing for you. Are people able to find what they want in a certain amount of clicks? Are they all leaving on the same page? If so, I always suggest it's time to maybe do something on that page, zhuzh it up a little bit. How much time are they spending on your website? All of that can all be gleaned from those analytics. Elisa, I know you've got some information to add on that.
Well, I think what's really important, this is always what I'm looking at when clients are saying they want to improve traffic, is I want to always look at acquisition. What are the referring sites to your data tools? I want to see where you're linking from. Are they from partner sites, your Chamber of Commerce, your SBDC? How are you linking those things? And then, of course, the nice thing about Lead Gen ID is it's quality over quantity. So the numbers in this case are less important than who is actually coming to your site and how did they get there. So if you see the same companies returning time after time to do research and then download reports to look at properties, you can then take a customer service approach to reaching out. Now you'll know, for example, let's say GIS Planning was on your website, but you might not know if it was Elisa at GIS Planning or Stevie at GIS Planning because we don't track individuals. You can nevertheless still reach out to whomever you think you should be speaking to and say, hey, I see someone from your company has been researching our region. I'm just reaching out to see if you found everything you need or if we can be of additional assistance. And that is part of what we're looking at here. You know, that's a customer service approach, and that generally is met with people who are just absolutely thrilled to have that proactive approach. And that links back to what I was saying at the beginning. People are searching your website and you don't even know. And you may be losing leads without ever knowing that because you never had the chance to engage with them. You never had the chance to go back and take a look, to connect with them and see that they were there. That's actionable intelligence, and it's really absolutely valuable to be able to have that knowledge. I'm going to take us over to our next question here, which is that you can share all your reports and analysis on social media, in emails, newsletters, documents, and slide decks. See, I'm going to let you show everyone what I call our superpower share button. If
Absolutely. This button is available during, oh gosh, I think it's 100% of your GIS planning experience. It's at the top of the page, right next to your PDF, Excel, usually print options, that will generate a live code. This code, copy, rename your code. Nobody wants to click on a bunch of code, so I always suggest that you rename it. You can embed this on on social media, an electronic newsletter, your email, your website, your community partners' websites. So you're trying to get people to either come to your site as a whole, or maybe you want them to see different properties that you've selected. I'm working with a prospect and I want them to see these 4 properties that I've selected for them. They map on my map automatically. That share button is going to generate a link here. I'm going to copy, rename that, embed that in an email, and they're going to go live on this page directly in your GIS application, seeing exactly what you're seeing. Now, the benefit of that is I'm not downloading an attachment and sending an attachment out into the world and wondering if they ever got it. And now I'm actually able to see by my analytics if they've clicked on this and visited my site and the different properties that I have identified for them. So that share button, if I've activated map layers, that share button is going to show those different activated map layers. So when I say it's a live map layer, it really is showing different pieces of data that have activated on a map. If I'm looking at one property, it's showing me that property or the different reports, or again, my drawn 3D building. You can see that share button. Even works with the compare communities tab. So when we were comparing communities, I can share that information as well.
Now we're coming a little bit close to the end of today's session, so I thought I would skip ahead to our question. Did you know that our Zoom Tour cloud-based software makes it easy to build themed virtual tours so you can show up top features in your community?
Very good. Okay, so Zoom Tour is one of our newest tools and fun things that we've pushed out. This is our client, NISA. They've embedded it here in their regional tour button on their site. And what it is, it's essentially like taking people on a walking tour or a driving tour of your community of whatever it is you want them to see. It can be economic development. It can be festivals, restaurants, filming locations. It can be anything that you want it to be. Once again, your imagination would be the only limit here, and I can actually send people into a tour of the community showing them exactly what I want them to see. I can include voiceovers. Let's see, which I just think is really great. I can include a map. Every single tour is completely different than the other. I can have as many stops as I want. And on each stop, you can see it's got some interactivity here. I can include various photos. Our little pie here is going to show pieces of data. This is one of our intelligence components. So there's a ton of information that can be shown. And just like the proposal generation system, I simply copy the link. I can embed that in my website, social media newsletter, online, LinkedIn, you name it, in an email. I can include all of the intelligence components, which this is like a little piece of the different intelligence components that I can see. So I'm communicating a ton of data and visuals here, and I haven't had to go anywhere. No one's had to come on a plane to be able to have to come see this. It was developed like right in the middle of COVID when we just weren't traveling the way we used to. And to be quite honest, I'm still not traveling the way I used to. So this gives me a really good idea of what's happening in this community and different things that they want me to see. I have one here. This one is Santa Clarita Valley in California, and they've got their different headquarters that they're trying to communicate, how many different headquarters they have, and their different niches that they're looking to attract. So they did a really good job in, video, and I built one because that's how I learned, by actually doing. I built one. The first one I did on a community that I obviously don't represent took me 45 minutes. Now that included photos, map links. I grabbed some video off of the internet. I was writing something that I knew nothing really about because I'm not from that community, but it had links and such. I really just copied it from their websites, and it was a really good. I did a regional tour of in North Carolina, and it was just I thought it was a really good one, and it didn't take me long to do, considering that was the first time I ever did it. So this is one of the few things that we do that is separate and not included with the suite of tools that we offer in our ZoomProspector Enterprise package. But again, you do not have to be a client to have this. You can have this and not have the other different tools, or you can have this and use this in conjunction with the other tools and the other things going on in your community. It is $5,000 annually for non-clients and $4,000 annually for our current clients. And so you can see, just let your mind just kind of process all of the different things you can use this for in promoting board members, community partners, available sites, a business park, that big festival that you have in town, bike trails, hiking things to do, all kinds of fun things that you can do to promote this. You can have unlimited tours and unlimited stops on each tour. So I'd just like let that soak in a little bit.
You've seen so many creative tours. Yeah, I love it. I think it's so, I've seen the film and video attraction, tourism, a guide to restaurants, walk through a historic district, a profile of business park, profile of a new development that's happening in an area, featured sites and buildings. There's just been so many creative ways that people are using this to tell the different stories about their region, to do it in an interactive way, and then to use these tours for outreach. Really very clever.
This is pretty amazing. I mean, you want to talk about just creating a center for buying a car. I mean, this is pretty great. And boy, they sure communicated that well. So good job to them.
Now we're coming close on the end of our time here. I wanted to remind people that if they had any questions, they can reach out and put them in the questions field in the GoToWebinar control panel. We did have one question that came in by email on earlier. I'd mentioned that we can offer overview training or refresher webinars about ZoomProspector and your GIS planning tools for your community stakeholders. If you're a state or a large region or utility or even just a town, we're happy to do that. And the question was whether we charge for those webinars, and the answer is no. We're really proud at GIS Planning that we do not nickel and dime for these things. Once you have been, committed to an investment with our products, we offer the full support and marketing package with that. It's all built in together. So you don't need to worry about that. We're happy to do that outreach. We're proud of what we've built for you, and we want to help ensure that everyone in your region knows about these tools and is able to use them for the purposes of, growing your regional economy, creating, new jobs, ensuring that your businesses feel supported, whatever that actually is. I do see another question that's come in here, which is, can you demonstrate renaming the link for sharing? That's a really good question, Kim. So just to clarify, I guess, Stevie, you'd shown that you can grab the hyperlink, and it's full of a whole string of numbers, yeah. And that can look a little bit intense. So you can go to bit.ly is one place to do that. It's a free service on the internet. You can go anywhere to bit.ly, paste in that link and click create link, and it will create a much shorter link. You can even customize the back end if you want and use the words that you want. Let's say Talent Pool Milton, for example, and that would make it a shorter, clearer link. Now, I'm
grabbing a blank document too right now. Here we go. Okay. Sorry, just wanted to pause my screen. And so I have that share link. So you can use that in a Word document. Let me see, where's my link? Here it is, my Word document here, which I'm able to, that's the address, and I want to call the text to display would be share link 1. I'm just going to call it, just for time, share link 1. and that is going to insert my link, which will take me directly into that page live into the GIS application. So you can also do that in an email. While you're writing your email, there's that little link button, and that little link button, it just looks like that infinity symbol, and that is what you need to do. So you can rename the top of what that link would be called, and this was share link 1, and you paste the code from that share button right down here. You just paste that code right into what the address is, and that's how you rename your links. You can see that this would be intimidating for someone to pick to click on. When you've renamed your links, it just looks so much more professional, so clean. I know exactly what I'm clicking on. It just really says, you know what you're doing, and I know what I'm clicking.
And if you grab the long link and you try and post it in Twitter, for example, Twitter will automatically shorten it, just so that you know that that is a possibility there as well. Now we are at the end of our time. I am just going to quickly grab this back so you have our contact information up on your screen. We are here to answer your questions. Oh, let's see why this has paused. I don't know why it's paused. I've never seen that happen before. I'm going to, in any case, share this with the in the follow-up email that you'll be getting by tomorrow, so that you know that that is available to you. You'll be able to reach out to us. There you go. I see that it's displayed right now. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. If you're already a client and you see anything here that you didn't know about or you want to learn more about, that is exactly why we are here. If you are not a client yet and you'd like to learn more, definitely reach out to Stevie, and she can help do a customized assessment of what your needs are and help you find the right tools to help you accomplish your goals. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy days. Stevie, this is always fun.
It is always fun to do this with you, and even though they can be a little ad-libby because of all of the things between barking dogs and a wind chime and a gardener usually that shows up and all of the things, I always enjoy doing these with you, and I feel like today we needed more time. There was just so much information to give, and so I think we'll have to do this again here in the near future. There's other things I'd love to show that I think are super important to help you be just as successful as you can be using the tools that you have, and we're available for you should you need anything, so don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Be well, stay safe, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.